Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is boy Waras. No, no, sugar. Okay, we all one of the best of songs. Yeah, guys. Welcome back to another reaction. Actually, I was supposed to sleep 7 hours ago, but I saw this video and I was like, you know what? Let me just watch it. If you guys plug you on what I'm watching when I'm alone, right? But yeah, let's see how the CIA built the biggest drug empire ever.
A room full of federal agents applauded. General Manuel Noriega steps to the podium. That same month, $2 billion in Medellin, cartel money is flowing through Panamanian banks. Noriega's cut, $1 million every 30 days. His soldiers guard a
Every
cocaine lab in the dark.
$1 million every 30 days. Every 30 days. So in a year, that's 12 million. That's 12. Hmm.
Marian jungle that's flooding Miami, Houston, and Los Angeles simultaneously. The DEA isn't honoring an ally. They're handing a medal to the man running the pipeline they're supposed to destroy. The CIA had him on payroll since 1967, paying $100,000 a year. DEA agents built airtight cases against him and were ordered to stand down. For 23 years, America's intelligence community made a calculated decision. His usefulness outweighed his crimes. They trained him in counterintelligence at Fort Bragg, gave him classified briefings on Congress members, protected him from rivals who might neutralize him. And the whole time, he was selling their secrets to Fidel Castro. 3 buyers, the CIA, the Medellin cartel, and Cuban intelligence, each paying for exclusive
this is
access to
something.
the same man, each convinced they controlled him. How did the CIA's most trusted asset become the one man they built, protected, and then needed 27,000 soldiers to silence?
So they made him kind of a mole.
By 1966, Panama is a country built around a ditch. The canal is the most strategically valuable 50-mile corridor on the planet, and whoever controls Panama's military apparatus controls access to it. The CIA needs a native officer willing to feed them intelligence on the leftist movements spreading south from Cuba through Guatemala, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Colombia. They need someone ruthless enough to be useful and hungry enough to stay bought. They find Manuel Antonio Noriega. He is 22, a cadet at the Corrillos Military School in Lima, Peru, training alongside the men who will shape Latin America's next 4 decades.
They got this nigga when he was 22 years old. They recruited him when he was 22 years old into that. What did he become? Yeah, CIA mode. He became a mole from 22 and he didn't know. Damn, there's a name for this. What's the name for this? I forgot what do they call them, but there's a name for it.
He is acne-scarred and ferociously ambitious. What impresses his early CIA handlers is his precision about value. He understands that information is a more durable currency than loyalty, and he prices himself accordingly. By 1967, he is formally on the agency's payroll. Congressional testimony later establishes payments of at least $100,000 per year in a country where a colonel's annual salary barely clears $10,000. Noriega climbs through Panama's National Guard and becomes chief of military intelligence under General Omar Torrijos, the strongman who seized power in a 1968 coup. The arrangement is ideal for Langley. Their source now sits at the intersection of every classified cable flowing through Panama's government. American case officers slip him envelopes. Noriega delivers dossiers on leftist organizers from Mexico City to Buenos Aires. The relationship is transactional, and both sides understand the terms. Through the 1970s, the CIA trains him in counterintelligence, feeds him assessments of guerrilla networks.
Oh, because I was about to ask who's using who here, Philippines. Okay, so they were using him to get information of those by leading those ones, by leading the yeah, by leading the cartels to escape the huh? What am I saying?
Isolates him from domestic rivals who might otherwise neutralize him. They know from their own surveillance reports that his intelligence unit uses torture, that political opponents disappear under his watch, that his personal finances are growing faster than any government salary can explain. The CIA files those reports and keeps depositing. Every year, Noriega survives inside the government. He stores more knowledge of CIA methods, personnel, and operations. He is not simply an asset. He is a growing archive. Then comes July 31st, 1981.
Ooh,
Omar Torrijos boards a de Havilland twin otter at Coclé
he was becoming more dangerous.
Airport
He was
for a
becoming
short
more
domestic
dangerous.
flight to Pinaname. The aircraft drops into the mountain fog above Coclecito and does not come out. The crash kills everyone aboard. Official
Except
cause, instrument failure. No investigation is conducted by any agency. No agency requests one. Within 14 months, Noriega has maneuvered every rival out of position and assumed effective control of the Panamanian Defense Forces. The CIA's paid informer has just become a head of state. Does the agency possess enough leverage over a man who now commands an army to control what they built? And what does Noriega do the moment he seizes power that confirms he has been playing a longer game than anyone in Langley anticipated? By August 1983, Noriega formally installs himself as commander of the Panamanian Defense Forces and the country's undisputed strongman. The civilian president is a prop. Noriega controls the army, the police, the intelligence services, and more critically, the banks. Langley's calculus is immediate. An asset
so was he the one controlling those or the America was the one controlling Panama? So which means again, I don't know, but like during that moment it was more like America owns the military or owns everything that he owns, that he controls of Panama. Because he's a trained CIA, right? From America. Not for the country. For the country he's an informant for the country. Damn it. Nice.
who was an informer is now an asset who runs a country. Useful has upgraded to indispensable. CIA payments continue. In 1983 alone, U.S. delegations meet with Noriega's office no fewer than a dozen times. The Cold War logic is clean. A friendly dictator is better than an unfriendly election. Simultaneously, the Medellin cartel is running into a geography problem. U.S. Coast Guard and DEA surveillance is flooding the Florida Straits with aircraft and fast intercept boats, compressing the Caribbean corridor that has moved Colombia's cocaine north for years. The cartel needs new infrastructure. Panama's jungle airstrips, its dollar-denominated banking system, and its position sitting directly between Colombia and Central America.
I've always wondered how do the drug dealers or drug and control go Pablo Escobar, how did they even think of starting their own yeah airport here, like in the jungle, out of nowhere? They just go into the jungle and they be like, you know what, this is where we're gonna start the thing. From here to there, it can land, it can take off, which is crazy.
Make it the most valuable piece of real estate in the drug trade. Escobar's financial lieutenants reached Noriega through intermediaries in 1982. The terms require no negotiation. For every plane load of cocaine granted safe passage through Panamanian airspace, Noriega collects between $100,000 and $200,000. Money laundering through Panama's national bank runs at a flat 2% commission. Within 18 months, Panamanian banks are processing an estimated $2 billion in cartel funds annually. His personal monthly income from cartel fees alone exceeds $1 million. When Colombian authorities begin pressuring Escobar and the Ochoa brothers following a series of high-profile assassinations, The cartel's senior leadership temporarily relocates to Panama City. Noriega provides safe houses in the capital's suburbs and issues undocumented passports in exchange for a reported $4 million lump payment. He then agrees to something more profitable and more permanent. The cartel wants a cocaine processing facility on Panamanian soil, a laboratory complex where Colombian raw materials can be refined into export-grade product before shipping north. Noriega's soldiers provide security for a facility built in the Darien jungle near the Colombian border, funded through a $5 million.
This is more like what I was asking myself most of the time. If South Africa is something like this, and government is eating from it, who's eating from this? Because South Africa is like this. We don't even have to ask ourselves what is it now. South Africa is like this. There is a private airport that was only being used by few people in this country. And I think it's still being used even right now, but nobody knows. Government doesn't have control of it. Who's using that thing? What lands on that airport and what takes off from that airport? That can be a private owned airport, that can be a private owned whatever it is, but like who owns that shit? You're not gonna know.
$1 million payment to Noriega personally. The CIA station in Panama City files a report on the lab's existence. The report reaches Langley. No action follows. Noriega is also selling compartmented intelligence to Fidel Castro's Directorate of Intelligence in Havana, passing CIA assessments on Latin American communist networks directly to the government. Those assessments were designed to counter 3 separate buyers, one man. Each buyer convinced the arrangement is exclusive. The CIA files accurate reports describing all of this. And the calculation holds, because removing Noriega means losing the intelligence stream, means exposing the relationship, means answering questions no one in Langley wants asked in a Senate hearing room. What the calculation does not account for is Hugo Spadafora. Spadafora is a Panamanian physician. He resigned his medical practice to fight with the Sandinistas in Nicaragua against the Somoza dictatorship, not for money, not for ideology in the careerist sense, but out of a conviction that some things are simply worth fighting for. He is the kind of man who makes intelligence agencies nervous, not because he is dangerous in any conventional sense, but because he cannot be bought, and he cannot be managed. By 1985, he has assembled detailed testimony from cartel insiders, Panamanian military officers, and former associates of Noriega himself. He has a name, account numbers, airstrip coordinates. He announces publicly that he intends to return to Panama and present his evidence. On September 13th, 1985, Hugo Spadafora crosses the border from Costa Rica into Panama at the Paso Canoas checkpoint. He is pulled off an intercity bus by men in civilian clothes. He is never seen alive again. His body is found stuffed inside a U.S. mail sack near the Costa Rican border. He has been tortured. His head has been severed. The State Department receives a full report. The CIA station in Panama.
Wait, they said he got recruited, so which means there's something that he knew. Okay, there's something I want to understand about him being recruited.
In a Senate hearing room. What the calculation does not account for is Hugo Spadafora. Spadafora is a Panamanian physician. He resigned his medical practice to fight with the Sandinistas in Nicaragua against the Somoza dictatorship, not for money, not for ideology in the career.
Oh, because he was fighting for the dictatorship. Okay. But getting killed for that thing is crazy. Fighting for your own country and get killed. Man.
Station in Panama City files an assessment. No sanctions follow. No diplomatic communications are downgraded. The calculation holds. In Washington, Hugo Spadafora, is processed as an acceptable externality. His family buries what they can recover, and every institution that knew what happened returns to its regular schedule.
What if it was not
What
him?
does Noriega demand in exchange for the next layer of protection, one more dangerous than guarding cocaine labs? And what secret becomes so catastrophic that it makes him legally untouchable inside the United States for 3 more years after agents have the evidence to indict him?
The show.
October 1984. Congress passes the Second Boland Amendment. The language is unambiguous. No U.S. intelligence funds may be used to support, directly or indirectly, the overthrow of Nicaragua's Sandinista government. The Reagan administration treats this as an engineering problem, not a prohibition. The Contras, anti-Sandinista rebels operating from bases in Honduras and Costa Rica, need weapons, training, and a money supply that cannot be traced to Washington. The CIA cannot wire their funds directly. The NSC cannot openly coordinate logistics. What they need is a cutout, an entire sovereign country as a cutout. Panama becomes the hidden architecture of the Contra support network. Panamanian military facilities provide training for Contra units that cannot legally operate from U.S. installations. Bank accounts inside Panama's financial system receive diverted proceeds from the covert arms sales to Iran, the Iran half of the Iran-Contra mechanism, and those funds move toward weapons procurement for the Nicaraguan rebels. Cargo flights routing guns south carry manifests listing agricultural equipment. The pilots are on a CIA contract. The airstrips they use are the same jungle strips as Noriega leases to the Medellin cartel. One infrastructure, 2 cargo streams, both are illegal. One man collecting fees from both. In 1984, CIA Director William Casey flies to Panama City. The meeting is not on his public schedule. Picture the room: 2 men who understand precisely what they are to each other and precisely what they cannot say. Casey has read every CIA station report filed from Panama City going back years. He knows about the Darien lab. He knows about the Cuban intelligence payments. He knows Noriega has been passing CIA assessments on Latin American communist networks directly to the government. Those assessments were designed to counter. He knows about Hugo Spadafora, the surgeon pulled off a bus, the mail sack, the Costa Rican border.
He knows too
Noriega
much.
knows Casey knows all
He's
of
afraid.
it. Casey knows Noriega knows he knows. What neither man says aloud is the calculation that makes the meeting possible in the first place. They need each other more than they
Once
distrust each
someone
other.
comes to me and tell me that they know what
Dismantling
I'm doing,
Noriega means dismantling the Contra supply chain. Dismantling the supply chain means Congress finds the receipts. Finding the receipts means criminal exposure at cabinet level. So, Casey shakes the hand of a man responsible for the decapitation of a Panamanian doctor.
no, and then guess what? Someone is gonna come and say South Africa is one of the corrupt countries. Guys, you don't know what's happening outside. This is what I've been saying. Your beautiful America is not the America that the Americans say it is. Even when they hear the corruption that is happening in South Africa, they're like, ah, that's nothing. That's nothing. The police are not eating from this. Are not eating from the cartels. The police in South Africa are not eating from the cartels. Americans are eating from the cartels. I'm telling you, from constables to the ministers of police, they are eating. A normal worker TIA, bruv, they're eating a lot of money. South Africa is not doing anything. It's not even because of the currency. A lot of things can pass through their eyes than the way they can pass go America. Than the way they can pass by France. Guys, yo, you guys don't know. You guys don't know.
And the meeting ends, and both men fly back to their respective capitals, and the
This
operation
corruption is bad.
continues.
Government knows it.
This is deniability at its most
Our
complete
government doesn't know
form.
anything.
No written agreement, no recorded instruction. 2 men in a room in Panama City who understand that silence is the price of the relationship continuing, and that the relationship continuing is worth more than any individual cost the relationship imposes on people neither of them will ever have to meet. If this keeps you up at night, subscribe. The next video is already waiting. Every story we cover is built on primary sources, and it only gets
Yeah, guys, subscribe, hit that like button and comment. Hit that like button and subscribe and comment.
more precise from
Tell
here.
me what I should
The
add to.
feedback loop accelerates. Daily cocaine shipments replace the occasional plane loads of 1982.
Daily.
Noriega's personal net worth climbs into hundreds of millions. His paramilitary force, the Dignity Battalions, beats opposition journalists in the streets and dismantles polling stations. The May 1984 presidential election is openly stolen. Noriega's candidate loses the popular count by a clear margin, and Noriega's officers simply alter the tallies. U.S. Ambassador Everett Briggs cables Washington that the election has been fraudulently decided. The State Department acknowledges the cable and sends Vice President George H.W. Bush to the fraudulent inauguration anyway. The signal Noriega receives is the clearest of his career. You are untouchable. He starts to act like it. By late 1985, DEA field agents in Miami have compiled witness testimony from cartel insiders naming Noriega by name, account number, and airstrip coordinates. Senate subcommittee investigators request the CIA's files on Panama. The CIA delivers redacted versions. One DEA supervisor later testifies under oath that a senior CIA official called him personally in 1983 to shut down a Noriega investigation, citing national security equities. The case is shelved. The calculation holds. It has been held for 18 consecutive years.
Damn it.
How long can a secret held simultaneously by 17 separate agencies remain secret? And what finally forces the public reckoning that every one of those agencies had spent a decade actively preventing? June 12, 1986. Seymour Hersh
Yeah.
publishes
So at this point, America is stopping the drugs to come to their country, or what is happening? Because like I hear the drugs are going to Panama. From Panama, they go to where they're going, right? But they never said drugs are going to America.
front page investigation in the New York Times.
That's something.
The headline does not use the word allegedly.
Hirsch has flight logs, bank records, and witnesses.
He identifies Noriega directly as a drug trafficker operating with the knowledge of U.S. intelligence. The story lands inside a Washington already fracturing under the weight of Iran-Contra revelations breaking that same autumn. The cover doesn't hold it. It detonates. Senate Foreign Relations Committee investigators, led by Senator John Kerry, spent the following year assembling what Hirsch sketched in a single article. They pull Swiss account records, interview cartel defectors who have agreed to cooperate, and subpoena CIA station reports from Panama City going back to 1979. The picture that emerges is not negligent. It is documented, deliberate inaction. Agents who filed accurate reports and were ordered to stand down. DEA prosecutions shelved by Justice Department officials citing national security. A system that functioned correctly at every technical level and was manually overridden at every political one. February 5th, 1988. A federal grand jury in Miami hands down a 12-count indictment. Drug trafficking, racketeering, money laundering, conspiracy. A sitting head of state, a man who received a DEA commendation 11 months earlier, in the same building is named as a federal criminal defendant. He nullifies the May 1989 Panamanian presidential election after the opposition candidate, Guillermo Endara, wins by a margin too large for even Noriega's talliers to reverse on paper. The day after the vote, Noriega's Dignity Battalions attack Endara and his two vice presidential running mates with iron rods in a Panama City street. The photographs Endara bloodied, his white shirt soaked red, run on front pages across the world. The Organization of American States condemns the violence. Noriega ignores it. George H.W. Bush, who attended the stolen 1984 inauguration and had received CIA briefings directly from Noriega during his tenure as vice president, is now president. His administration imposes economic sanctions. Panama's economy contracts by 9% in a single year. Noriega shrugs. He controls the banks. Through autumn